All right, let's jump right in. Have you ever tried to wrap your head around India? I mean, a country that vast, that dynamic, that complex. It's a huge puzzle, right? For businesses, for policymakers, for pretty much everyone. Today, we're going to unpack a really simple but powerful way to start making sense of it all. First off, just look at this number, 1.4 billion. That's billion with a B. We're talking about more than a sixth of every single person on this planet. The sheer diversity packed into that one number, it's mind-boggling. So that leads to the big question, right? Can you just treat all those people as one single uniform market like they're all the same? Well, the answer is a huge, resounding no. Not even close. Trying to do that, it's pretty much a guaranteed recipe for failure. And this isn't just my opinion. Sajith Pai from Bloom Ventures really hits the nail on the head with this one. He says, India isn't just one market. It's a whole collection of smaller ones, each with its own vibe, its own rules, its own way of doing things. Getting that one idea is like step one to understanding the whole country. Okay, so if it's not one big market, how in the world do we make sense of it? Well, that's where this idea of the three Indias framework comes in. And here's the most important part. This has nothing to do with geography. We're not talking North India, South India, nope. This is about looking at the population in three different layers based on their income, how they use the internet, and what they spend their money on. And the best way to picture it is a pyramid. Super simple. At the very, very top, you've got India 1. Then in the middle, you have India 2, the aspiring class. And then holding it all up, the huge base of the pyramid, that's India 3, the foundational majority. So let's break down each one, shall we? All right, first up, India 1. This is the top of the pyramid. Think of them as the most plugged in, the most affluent part of the country. Now, you might be surprised to see they're actually a pretty small slice of the population, less than 10%. But, and this is a big but, don't let that small number fool you. Their economic power, it's huge. They spend way, way more than you'd expect for a group their size. So what does an India 1 person look like? Well, they're usually in the big metro cities. They've got money to spend. They're totally comfortable in the digital world, using apps, paying online. It's all just second nature. These are the folks who've really ridden the wave of globalization and India's economic boom over the past couple of decades. And if you want to know what that really means for business, think about startups like Zomato for food delivery or Ola for rides. India 1, they were their first customers, the ones who are willing to pay for convenience, the early adopters. They're the core. Okay, let's move down the pyramid a bit. Next up, we've got India 2. And this group is super dynamic and incredibly important. This is the aspiring class. So in terms of sheer numbers, they're about the same size as India 1, maybe around 10% of the population. But here's the key difference. This group is growing fast, both in numbers and in their economic cloud. The one word that sums up India 2 is aspiration. They're not usually in the huge mega cities like Mumbai or Delhi. They're in what we call Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, places like Jaipur or Lucknow that are absolutely booming. They've got a smartphone, maybe not the latest iPhone, but they're online. They see the trends, they want a better life. But they're also super smart about their money. They're looking for value, for the best bang for their buck. And this is why everyone, and I mean everyone, is paying attention to this group. India 2 is where the next big wave of growth is going to come from. Their spending power is rising, they're getting more and more connected. This is the future engine of the Indian economy. All right, now we get to the base of the pyramid, the biggest and maybe the most misunderstood part of the country. Let's meet India 3, the foundational majority. I mean, just look at that. We're talking over 75% of the entire country. This is it. This is the base of the pyramid, and the scale is just immense. If you want to understand the day-to-day reality for most Indians, you have to understand this group. So who are they? Well, for the most part, they live in rural areas. They're the backbone of the informal economy. We're talking farmers, day laborers, small shop owners. Their income isn't just low, it's often unpredictable. For a family here, a smartphone might be their very first computer, but getting a stable, fast internet connection, that's still a huge challenge. Their world is miles away from the on-demand, app-driven life of India 1. So, okay, we've got these three totally different Indias. The big question is, how do they all fit together to shape what's coming next? And we come back to this quote from Sajid Pai because it's just so on point when he says, building for Bharat. Bharat is another name for India, often used to talk about this massive, emerging user base from India 2 and especially India 3. The potential here is just staggering. Figuring out how to bring this foundational majority into the digital world, that's one of the biggest opportunities of our lifetime, but also one of the biggest challenges. You know, if you take away just one thing from all this, let it be this metaphor. India isn't one single train chugging along. It's more like three trains on three parallel tracks, all moving forward, but at totally different speeds. India 1 is the high-speed bullet train. India 2 is the express train, and it's picking up serious speed. And India 3, well, that's the local passenger train, making its journey, steadily moving along. And that really leaves us with a huge, fascinating question to think about. As these three Indias keep moving and changing, and maybe the lines between them start to blur, which one is going to write the country's next chapter? Is it going to be the money and influence of India 1, the powerful ambition of India 2, or the sheer undeniable scale of India 3? What do you think?